Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Blake the Book Eater here, and today we are going to be talking about YA's favorite duology, The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So if you guys didn't know, the Six of Crows duology is a YA fantasy duology set in the Grishaverse that Leigh Bardugo has created. They are a standalone duology, so you can read them without having read the Grisha trilogy. I do recommend reading the Grisha trilogy just for some context about like the magic system and stuff, but these books are totally readable on their own. So I actually read Six of Crows when it first came out many years ago, so this is a reread. And I think it still holds up. It still holds up. So we're going to talk about non-spoilers for both of the books, and then we're going to talk about spoilers for both of the books. So I'll let you know when those sections are going to be. So Six of Crows follows the Crows crew made up of Kaz, Inej, Wylan, Jesper, Nina, and Matthias, and they all come together to break into the ice court to rescue this prisoner Boyle Bayer for 30 million Kruge, which is the monetary system that Ketterdam uses. And the setting of the book, this book is so interesting because like for the first half you're in Ketterdam, which is very almost kind of like Amsterdam-y almost, except like darker and more crime ridden. And I'm gonna have to say, like, this is a YA book that does not feel like a YA book. This feels like an adult book almost at times, just because of how dark it is. Not saying that, like, you know, teens couldn't read this, but it's like at the same time it's like there's some shit that goes down in these books, and themes that I think are pretty heavy sometimes. They're dealt with really well. And yeah, this book is very propulsive. It's frenetic. I loved the kind of heist that they pull off at the end of the book. It's so well done, so well written. Yeah, and I think this book is fantastic. It still holds up for me. It's a 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 stars. Then we have the sequel, Crooked Kingdom, and this picks up where the last book ended. And yeah, the first book did end on kind of a cliffhanger. So yes, this book picks up right where it left off. And this book to me, it was still really good. Not quite as good as the first one because I feel like there was, you know, as you can see, this book is very thick. There was a section in the middle where I feel like it was just a little too long, and I could have, because in this book we do delve more into the characters, kind of their backstories and their motivations, and I would have liked just a sprinkling of this more in the first one, because it feels like the first one was so streamlined, and so this book is kind of making up for lost time, and I would have enjoyed some of those sections kind of like more evenly balanced. Not to say that this book is not fast-paced, because it is. We do have a lot of crazy stuff that happens, lots of action stuff that goes down, and it's crazy, and it's a perfect end to the Crows story in this duology. So that's the end of my non-spoiler sections for both of these books. I'm going to put spoiler times down in the description. We're going to talk about Six of Crows first, and then Crooked Kingdom. So time for spoilers. So rereading this book was weird, because this is my first time, or I read the Grisha trilogy for the first time earlier this year, and so this is my first time reading this after having the knowledge of the rest of the Grishaverse, which only really enhanced this book for me. There were so many like little things and mentions that I was like, ooh, I see it, you know? And also this book was just really cool. I loved the ice court heist. I think is fantastic, still holds up. The crows themselves are just so well written. Kaz, Inej, oh my god, Inej amazing. Jesper, Wylan, Nina, and Matthias. I do have to say, I don't really like Matthias. To me, you know, I started to come around, I think, more in Crooked Kingdom, but in this book, I just did not really like him. And I know you're not really supposed to, but he was just kind of annoying, honestly. Nina, I thought was great. And Jesper and Wylan, I think they're good here, but I think in Crooked Kingdom, I like them better. But Kaz and Inej are, they're why you're here. I mean, to me, I think they're the best written characters in this duology. I think they're some of the best characters that Leigh Bardugo has ever written. They're so nuanced and unique, and I love that their backstories are so intrinsically tied into who they are as characters. I mean, the other characters, like, they are as well, but I think Kaz and Inej are so informed by their past, and that's why they kind of find kinship in each other, and it's just so beautiful to see. And yeah, this book is very fast-paced and awesome. I thought I was gonna have more to talk about in the spoilery section. I can talk. Oh, I'll tell you some of my favorite quotes. Actually, that's what I'll do. So I actually wrote down a lot of quotes. So let's run through this really fast. So here's just a couple. When everyone knows you're a monster, you needn't waste time doing every monstrous thing. Now another one. You see every man as a safe, a vault of secrets and longings. Now, there are those who take the brute's way, but I prefer a gentler approach. The right pressure applied at the right moment in the right place. It's a delicate thing. And then, the heart is an arrow. It demands aim to land true. And then, this quote. He needed to tell her what? That she was lovely and brave and better than anything he deserved, that he was twisted, crooked, wrong, but not so broken that he couldn't pull himself together into some semblance of a man for her, that without meaning to, he'd begun to lean on her, to look for her, to need her near. Leigh Bardugo knows how to write. And then, barrel boys don't have parents. We're born in the harbor and crawl out of the canals. And then, of course, the final one I wrote down. I will have you without armor, Kazbrecker, or I will not have you at all. There was collective screaming. Yeah, so that's 6 of Crows. Absolutely loved it. And let's get into Crooked Kingdom spoilers now. So I feel like there's a lot more to talk about with Crooked Kingdom spoilers, just because there's so much that happens. So Inej is captured at the end of the last book, and so the first part of this book is about like getting her back, and get her back they do. And it's just the way that it happens. I mean, we all knew that Jan Van Eyck was going to betray them at the end. I mean, like, we knew. It's kind of obvious. But the kind of way that he kind of like uses the Merchant Council and the Stadwatch to like this book really feels like literally everybody is against them, because we have Pekka Rollins and then all the other gangs. So this book does such a good job of feeling like the Crows are utterly alone, because in the first book is like we felt like the Crows were kind of powerful because they were pulling off this heist, they were doing it so well, like, ooh, yes. And then in this book we're like, how the fuck are they gonna get out of this? Like, and I think Leigh Bardugo put that tension in this book so well. And also the backstories, I think, are fantastic. I mean, we find more about Kaz and Inej, and I think their backstories are my favorite. Kaz is just, it's so heartbreaking because his brother died, and then he can't touch skin without being reminded of the barge. It's just terrible. And then Inej, like, what she had to go through with Tante Helene, absolutely awful. I mean, like, probably one of the darkest backstories for a YA character that I think I've ever read. Like, Inej was sex trafficked and like repeatedly like raped by men in the menagerie. It's so dark. But Inej is such a good character, and like how she's kind of overcome that and come to terms with that, I think is beautiful. And yeah, and then we have Jesper, who is really dealing with the kind of ramifications of his gambling addiction in this book, I think, in such a good way. Wylan is really stepping into his own as his own character and stepping out of the shadow of being Van Eck's son. And also, I think Wylan, is the MVP of this book just because of how kind of like much he does. He does a lot in this book. And then we have Matthias and Nina. Nina, obviously, she is dealing with the effects of taking the Jur de Parem at the last book, or the end of the last book. And then Matthias is just kind of being her stalwart protector. And then he dies. And I think that, like, reading the book the first time, I was, like, hit by Matthias's death. On the reread, it didn't really hit me that hard. Like, I was a little sad. I was more sad for Nina. And it was like, you know, Matthias, you know, he did kind of like overcome his ways, and he wanted to, like, you know, change the other Driscoll and things like that. But it just, I don't know, I didn't really care about him. And yeah, I really loved the stuff that they pulled at the end too, with Kuwei. Also, I mean, when we talk about Kuwei, we talk about that scene where Kuwei kisses Jesper instead of Wylan. I love gay mess, and that scene was it's so good. I wish that Kuwei had more to do, because he is our only like genuine Shu character in this book, and he just kind of feels like he just doesn't talk and is silent for most of the time and is being shuttled around. And I wanted like more of a character for him, because he feels just kind of like he's there. I know Leigh was juggling a lot of characters in this book, but at the same time, I don't know, I wanted more from Kuwei. But anyways, at the auction, it was so good when you know, we had Kuwei, and then, you know, Kaz pulling off the tricks with the Council of the Tides, and then Inej fighting Dunyasha, and like, this book, I think, crafts tension so well, and the way each kind of like job is pulled is just so fun to read about, and it's done so well, and it was just a joy to read. Also, the end of the book really got me choked up a little bit with Kaz bringing Inej's family and getting her a ship, and then Inej asks him to like come meet her family. I hope we see more of the Crows in the King of Scars duology, which I'm going to read next. Like, I know Nina is in it because she is taking Matthias's body to Jurda, but I want to see some of these other Crow members pop up as well, because I mean, I know their story is done, but like at the same time, I'm like, I want more of them, because like 2 books is great, but at the same time, I feel like I need more. So now I'll read you guys some quotes from Crooked Kingdom that I really liked. I think there's a lot. This book had a lot of good quotes. Let's see. He had often wondered how people survived the city, but it was possible Ketterdam would not survive Kaz Brecker. Then also, Brecker has a flair for the dramatic, which I think is a drastic understatement. And then, you know, Kaz would get her free, and then they'd show this man exactly what whores and canal rats could do. He was fucking angry. And then this quote, I would come for you, he said, and when he saw the wary look she shot him, he said it again. I would come for you, and if I couldn't walk, I'd crawl to you, and no matter how broken we were, we'd fight our way out together, knives drawn, pistols blazing, because that's what we do. We never stop fighting. And that meant so much to Inej, because she like questioned if Kaz would even come for her. And he would. Ah, so good. And then this is an adorable Wylan moment. Until this moment, Wylan hadn't understood how much they meant to him. His father would have sneered at these thugs and thieves, a disgraced soldier, a gambler who couldn't keep out of the red. But they were his first friends, his only friends, and Wylan knew that even if he'd had his pick of 1,000 companions, these would have been the people he chose. I love the camaraderie. I love the found family elements. It's just so good. And then Kaz just like taking down Per Haskell. I may not walk straight, but at least I don't run from a fight. And then, you have 2 minutes to get out of the city, or to get out of my house, old man. This city's price is blood, and I'm happy to pay with yours. Kaz is so boss in this book. Like, he steps it up. He really steps it up. And then an Inej quote. What about the nobodies and the nothings, the invisible girls? We learn to hold our heads as if we wear crowns. We learn to wring magic from the ordinary. That was how you survived when you weren't chosen, when there was no royal blood in your veins. When the world owes you nothing, you demanded something of it anyway. And then, I have been made to protect you. Even in death, I will find a way. That was one Matthias quote that I was like, okay, I'm a little sad. And then, of course, we have Kaz, you know, Ketterdam is made of monsters. I just happen to have the longest teeth. Kaz is so dramatic, and I love that about him. He's just, I think, the epitome of, like, drama. And with that, I'm going to end this review. Thank you guys for sitting down and listening to me discuss these classic YA novels, and I hope that you will join me for when I talk about the King of Scars duology pretty soon, leading up to the debut of the show, Shadow and Bone. And I'm actually really excited to see how they're going to weave the Six of Crows duology into the Grisha trilogy. Well, we're gonna get a prequel kind of thing to the Six of Crows duology. So we have Kaz, Inej, Jesper, and Matthias and Nina. We don't have Wylan yet because Wylan is very integral to this plot, so any prequel stuff is mostly going to be the other 5 crows. So I'm really excited to see what happens with them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye.